This is That One Audition with Alyshia Ochse. Okay, so doing the little deep dive, is your family in the arts? Was your grandma, there's a theater named after your grandma in Denver?
She wasn't in the arts, but she was a real advocate for the arts. She helped create this public magnet school for the arts in Denver. Yeah.
And then is Colin your brother who's also in the industry as well?
Yeah, my brother is a camera op DP director.
So you guys, this whole family was into it because then you go to Denver, you go to school. Is it high school? Was it a performing arts school that you went to?
It was middle school and high school, so it was like a 7-year program.
So you've wanted to do this since the beginning, like this as a professional career. This was the goal.
It wasn't like I saw TV shows and I saw movies and I was like, I want to do that. I think I just really loved making up skits and playing imagination games. And then I got into doing plays at like the local theater. And then I was just like, oh, I love doing this and I want to do more of it. So I'll go to this school. But I never really was thinking of it. I don't even think, honestly, until I was at school at Juilliard.
At Juilliard.
It wasn't like I wasn't thinking like that's what I wanted to do. I just wasn't thinking of it like, oh, this is the career. It was more just I love acting and I just want to keep on doing this and this is where I want to go.
A lot of people that start that way don't necessarily have a lane to follow. So you get into Juilliard. I'm assuming, were you shocked? Were you happy? It was one of those, oh, maybe we'll just see how this lands.
It's funny. I was over the moon. It's something that I saw like a PBS documentary on it when I was really young. Like it had some of the same teachers in it. It had Kathy Hood. I remember it had Moni Akeem and it had Mina and it had the kind of like really old school teachers in this PBS documentary on Juilliard. And I remember watching it and I think it was like when I was in middle school and I was like, I want to go there. Then I became aware of how difficult it was to get in and the audition process and how rigorous it was. And so then it became more of this like just far out aspiration, but I really wanted to go there. And I visited, I loved it. I had such a fun time seeing the play. They were doing Shakespeare's R&J at the time, which is, I don't know if you've seen it. It's like an all male version of Romeo and Juliet. I thought it was just remarkable. I was just like completely in love. So I really wanted to go, but I was like, oh, so far away from being something that I thought was possible. I auditioned and then I got further and further. They have a million callbacks. There's one callback for the first round, like where you do another set of monologues and then they call you back again if you are going to do an interview. And then they do this thing called the Final 40, where they fly. And this right when the year that I went with James Houghton, who was the artistic director at the time. And they fly like basically you have to fly to New York and do a 2-day callback with the final 40 people up for these slots. And oh my God, there was a massive blizzard. Have you heard this story?
No, I haven't, because I've been listening to a lot of your interviews and I was like, it's always interesting to hear just the Juilliard process. Like a lot of actors don't even know the actual process to get into some of these schools. And it's different for all of them. There was a blizzard.
A massive blizzard. And I was planning on going by myself. I was 17 at the time. So I was like, I'm going by myself to New York. Then there was this blizzard and my dad was like, okay, I'm going to buy a ticket. So I'll go with you just to make sure you get there. We get through like the ticketing and they then canceled the flight and they're like, the flight is canceled. There's no flights to New York. It's this massive storm. So then we're like, okay, let's get a car to Chicago, a plane.
And automobiles, right?
So we get a flight to Chicago and we're planning on taking a flight to New York. That gets canceled. We land in Chicago and we have another flight to DC. That gets canceled. At this point, I'm pretty late already. And I got on the phone with the artistic director and they were like, if you get here for 40 minutes, if you get here for a day, we just need you, if you can get here for any point of time. So that was something. And then my dad was
it makes you a little special in the moment too. Like they're waiting to see when you're going to show up. So it puts a little light and also pressure where it's, you better be good.
I'll tell you what it did. So anyway, I'll get through the trajectory and then I'll tell you what happened. All the flights are canceled. So then my dad's, I'm going to get a car and I'm going to drive us from Chicago to New York, which is like a 16-hour drive or something like that.
Yeah.
Overnight and through a blizzard. And so he rented us a car And we did that. We drove through the night. There were semis knocked over on the side of the road. It was terrible, terrible conditions. So bad that I like could not take over to drive at any point. He had to do the whole way. He stopped for, I'm not exaggerating when I say like probably a 5 to 10 minute like cat nap at a McDonald's. We got there. I was a day late. I was completely exhausted because I had also been not sleeping and up for this full time. My clothes had gotten stuck on the plane, so I had no clothes. So I had to borrow clothes from a student who went to the school. And what it did though was it just, I think like some of the nerves died along the way. And
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
so exhausted that I didn't have the headspace of the neuroses. I was just, I'm here and I'm present and I made it. And what was crazy is that there were like 40 of us, about half of them were in the same situation as me. Every single one of them made it. So everybody found a way, which just speaks to like the stakes of that callback. So I was in this like group of people who were a day late. We did like the whole 2 day audition, which is basically like you do your monologue in front of the entire faculty, your monologues. You do classes, mock classes, and then they kind of, the faculty sits around the room and observes you going through these classes. Just getting to know the program. It was also a good chance for us to get to know the program more, like what these things would be like, what these classes would be like. And then I left and then I had a wait, like a long wait. And yeah, I remember when they called me, I said fuck. I just remember that was the word. I was like, fuck. I was so excited. And even in retrospect, it's surreal that I went there. It's just
And look at the people that you got to go to school with. And then I always love asking this to get that type of preparation and that concentrated amount of time of just focusing on acting is a whole skill set in itself. Like you can, I'm sure, throw yourself into any play any age range, any like gender swap. You understand how to develop a character. You can definitely do script analysis. How does Juilliard prepare you for the real world? Because it seems like you graduate 2011. Is that correct?
yeah, gosh, it's so wild how long it's been. Yeah.
But then, girl, you're on a show a year later, and I feel like you become the recur queen for every massive show that is happening, whether you join a couple. Have you noticed that in yourself? It's always fun for me to go back and I'm like, oh, she joined episode 2. Oh, she joined episode 3. Oh, by season 2, she's a series regular. Or, oh, she's joining this show right here. It seems like you're that girl that every show's, oh, we'd love to have her for 1 or 2 episodes. Damn, let's keep her for the rest of the season. Can we please do that? No,
Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah, no, yes. How did it prepare me to answer your question? I think there's just something about putting in the hours like that builds confidence and doing all different kinds of things that were so out of my wheelhouse. Like their ethos is, yeah, you played this kind of character, so we're going to have you play that kind of character that's like all the way over on the other side of the field. If you're playing the ingenue, you go to Juilliard, you play the maid, the old woman, the matriarch of the family, and so I was so stretched out of my comfort zone. And that knowing that I had done so many hours of work, 16 plays, 4 plays a year for 4 years. So it's a good amount of material that you're doing. I feel like that just put some confidence in me that I had done things I was not comfortable with for 4 years, that I had done that many hours of it. I think that's what prepared me for life outside of Juilliard. I also think that like those teachers, they're just so direct and they really are pushing you to out of your comfort zone and they're really pushing you to grow. And so honestly, when I got out, I just felt like, okay, I like had a little bit of a thicker skin than I did when I walked in to the school. And that was helpful.
I would say so. There's so many auditions that I want to ask about me
Please.
specifically, but I want to ask you first before I cue you up. What is that one audition for you? Which job, whether you got it or not, is that one audition story for you?
Oh gosh. I have like my most traumatizing audition story, which was like a good lesson. I had auditioned for the importance of being earnest in New York. And it went really well. I played that part. I played Gwendolyn in high school and I like really loved the character. I really loved the play. I really knew it. I went in, I like did a great, I felt like good about the audition. It got good feedback. I didn't get the part, but it was just like one of the first auditions that I had out of school and it was like great. And then I got called back in for another play down the line and I like worked really hard on it and it was like this woman who's getting ready to go like out and so she's like doing her morning routine and she's like moving around the space and like putting on this and doing that. I worked really hard on it and I like blocked it in my head.
Uh-huh.
I thought I had props like for what I was doing to get ready. I got into the room and the director was really lovely and she was really friendly and we started this whole conversation and then I said, I'm so embarrassed by this. It's like the most cringe thing that I've ever said in my entire life, but it was out of nervousness and not knowing what to say. But I said, okay, why don't we get to the work, which was truly, I know
my face is not that. I'm like, that's not terrible. I'm waiting for the bomb. You thought
oh God, that was just so cringe. And I think what came after it made it even more cringe, but saying let's get to the work, it's just totally not my energy. And I think I just said it out of, okay,
let's get to work. Yeah.
Like I was just so nervous. And I think I was like, I don't know what else to say to this person. And I'm like, this is going well. And she's so sweet. And I just don't know. It hit a little bit of a dead end. So I was like, okay. And then we get into it. And like, I start the whole thing. And I realized the reader is not on this blocking journey with me that I like conducted in my head. And it completely threw me. I stopped and I was like, okay, can I start over? I do it again. And then the same thing happens and I lose it. And I was just like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And then I laughed.
They say, and then you're like, and that's it for today, guys. That was my work.
The work is over.
The work is leaving now.
Oh my God, it was so bad. And the casting director who had been so lovely and said such complimentary things and been so encouraging about the other audition, I just looked back and I saw him with his like head hands and I was like, oh my God. And that was like one of those, I think I was 21, maybe 20. And I just remember a hyperventilating moment where I was like, I am so embarrassed. It was just bad. It was so bad. And yeah.
Have you been back in for that office? Have you seen them?
Yes.
Great. I'm glad to hear that because I think us as actors, whenever we have an audition, look, the audition that started this whole podcast 15 years ago was a bombing audition. It's those that are so precious to us that later you're like, do they even remember? I've heard so many terrible. I've heard people getting arrested at auditions. And
that is, I don't even know.
Have been escorted out while like still reading the text because they wanted to finish their audition and was being and people, not that person.
But like that one feels like they probably wouldn't forget it.
That person doesn't care anymore. They're on every billboard on Sunset right now. So it's just like certain people, certain behavior that we deem as, oh, that's bad. That was the worst work ever. Which it would be so interesting to hear that casting director's perspective. Clearly, you've been back in the room. They might not even remember.
Oh God, I'm sure he doesn't. I'm sure he doesn't remember. I can't imagine. I'm sure that I've witnessed a lot of people's most embarrassing day, and I don't remember any. Like so nobody's paying attention the way that you're paying attention to.
We're so hyper vigilant on. Wait, did that go exactly as I wanted it to? Oh no, it didn't. And I think sometimes that serves us, and then that spiral. I call it the windshield audition when you're on your way home and you're like redoing the audition the best way you've ever done it in your life. And you're like, oh, that's what I should have done. We don't drive anymore, but when we used to, that whole berating.
Oh God, or just replaying it, or just wondering what you could have done differently before. No, I especially remember those when we used to go in. There used to be a pilot season and it used to be like, and then having to carry that energy to the next audition because at that point, I remember there were like, you would sometimes have 4 auditions a day.
In the land of time, that was so great. That was so nice to not have to worry about, oh, I have another one. I can just go to the next one, shake it off. Or that energy from that one helps the next one. You just, no, totally different story. Totally different story. Wow. I love that one. I'm really curious. Look, you've gone to Juilliard. You have this incredible foundation of practice and exploration of story and character. We're both blonde. we start in our 20s. There's certain roles that we are visually right for that don't call for this like extra work per se. But yet you continue to deepen these characters. I wanted to ask about the younger audition and also the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I'm gonna let you choose which audition. I feel
Oh,
like which audition story, because I've heard you say in interviews too, like your character in younger, you're like, oh, please don't watch that. I'm not the biggest fan of that because you said that you were still evolving as an actress, but I feel like certain roles demanded that kind of like sometimes we could bring too much to a role. So
mhm.
your younger audition, was that something you were like, fuck it, I'm just gonna have fun with this character, and then they hire you, and then
Yeah, I think that one thing I never, speaking to the blonde and the young, I feel like I never really fit into the pocket of being like the like ingenue blonde,
yes,
and that I wasn't like quite like the commercial looking person. I know, like in the way that I thought of I didn't think of myself like that, and I didn't go out for those kinds of parts. And what I did feel like I could do was when like things felt like when an audition came to me that was like a little bit far out and challenging, that's when I would get excited because I was like, okay, I can do this thing that maybe other people would be scared to do. I'll go there. I'll make a bold choice and I'll do something a little bit cuckoo. And so at least there will be something different than they've seen before. And I don't know if I'll get it or not, but like I would get excited about things and I both things that were just a little bit like unhinged
yes, yes,
because I was like, at least like I know that I'll be doing something different than anyone else because there's just no way around. It's not just like a straightforward delivery. I'm going to do something like bonk with this. So that was fun for me. And both of those characters, Jade, the younger character, the story about that was just like a massive monologue where she's basically talking about her book and like what it's like. And so that was exciting because I was like, okay, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to work hard on this. It's a lot like, and I'm just going to go like balls out with it. And I don't know how many people are going to put the amount of work in. So that was exciting to be like, okay, this is challenging. This is like hard and hard work. So like I have the time to do that. That's great. And then it was like, so the part was just so like unbridled and feral and like crazy. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go there and have fun with it. And it was like a mess. Like that audition was like a mess in the best way, where I was just like, I looked like a mess. I was sloppy. I was doing all kinds of like crazy stuff. And I think they had like an idea of what they wanted and who they wanted and how many social media followers they wanted that person to have who got the
in
part.
real life, yes.
That was the dialogue around the part. And so I was like really worried that maybe I wouldn't get it. At least that's the narrative that I was hearing in
Mhm.
terms of just my reps. It was like they really love it, but also like they're really looking for this. And then I ended up getting it. I hate watching it because it's really hard to watch yourself. I have a hard time watching myself do something that's that much of a departure from normal for me. It feels very weird still. I have a really hard time watching it. I had the same experience with Astrid where I like on Miss Maisel where I'm not thinking about my vanity while I'm doing it, which is good.
Mhm.
And when I'm watching it, I am thinking about my vanity.
Yeah, of course, yes.
And I'm thinking about, was that stupid or was that too far? And there was a point like where I still have those thoughts, but now I'm just like, it's not your business, Justine. And you're giving these characters a space to be themselves. And like you're giving them like a circle of room to not be judged. And so let them have that space and don't come at it afterwards and be like, oh, you're ugly, Astrid, or you're stupid, Jade. And that's a little bit woo-woo way of talking about the parts, but that's genuinely what I think is happening is that I'm giving them a space to just be who they are. And so I'm really trying now because all through my 20s, I would just sit there and pick myself apart and pick my decisions apart. And there's still things that I have a really hard time watching, but at least I can give myself the dialogue. This is not for you to judge. And also imagine that's not you doing that part. Can you imagine talking about someone like that? Can you imagine?
Mhm. Yes. And I also think we evolve as people, we evolve as artists. So every job that we do, you learn a new skill set or you learn a new, like, oh, when I was doing the monologue, this is how it was working. Oh, that's how it was captured. Okay, next time I'm going to do. So we get to go up the stairs. And it's funny that our work from 15 years ago or 20 years ago can be viewed, whereas like a chef's dinner from 15 years ago, we're not going to eat it and review it currently. So there's just an evolution process. If you're willing to go a little bit more into, I heard you say this, and I think a lot of actors listening to this are like, yeah, I'm going to always choose the crazy choice for the monologue for Jade. When you said, I just went for it and went a little crazy. What were your choices? Because I think sometimes actors hear crazy and they're like, I'm going to do a backflip to stand out in this scene.
Yeah. No, I don't think it was that. I just read who this person was and I was like, I'm not going to get in the way of who she is. So whatever comes out, like, I don't remember particularly being like, and then I'm going to do this. And
Yes.
that's not how I do things normally. If it's written in there, I'll do it. But mostly it's about getting out of the way, doing the preparation in terms of who is this person and what are the lines. And then it's just about being present, being available, and not being in my head. Like, it's hard because you're always in your head, this idea that we're not in our heads. It's so, I think,
like doing the analytical work. And then what's your process to drop the plan or drop the work? What, Justine, specifically, what do you do once you switch?
I literally just learn it to the point where it feels like molecularly in me and I don't have to think at all about the lines and I don't have to have that part where I'm like, what is the line? And I'm chasing after the line. I try and get it down so well that then it's just about like instinct. But then it's just about impulse and what's coming up and following that and not getting in the way of it and just letting that happen. So honestly, most of my process is just learning the shit out of it so that I can get out of my own way and just follow the instinct. And it's really, that is easier when it's really well written and like I have a really clear idea and I can hear the voice of the character. Then like it's easier to.
So much easier. Okay, that was going to be my next. We have to obviously talk about Succession. Since you joined episode 2, right? That was your first, Willa's first episode. Obviously, incredible writing. So like you were just saying, when you have incredible writing, but what was your audition scenes for that? And also, every actor, like when we get a pilot, we don't know tonally what this is going to be. So you're trying to piece it all together. I'm assuming for episode 2, we still didn't really have an idea of what Succession was. So what were you given? And this audition, was it supposed to be a one-off or just a couple of episodes?
It was supposed to be a couple of episodes. So I was given a scene that was a breakup between Connor and Willa. And it was supposed to be in New Mexico. And I remember it just feeling, I don't remember the exact dialogue, but I remember it just felt like he was like judging her, like that he was mad at her, like that she had fouled him in some way. And then there was a little bit of a dismissive looking down on her because Willa's story is that she's like a high-end call girl kind of situation. And I remember it ends with this breakup. The scene was a breakup. And in the audition, I remember wanting to keep on going with the scene. So I think I just said a few, as it was like ending, I was like, you know what, fuck, like I think I said fuck you. I was like, fuck you or something like that. I just kept it going a little bit more because I was like, I just felt like I got her and I got the scene and I was like, I'm going to have the last word with this as the character. And then I got the part and I got to set and getting the part. I remember it was another one of those where it was like, I didn't know if I was going to get it. It wasn't an automatic thing. There was back and forth about it. I got it. And then I got to set. And in terms of the tone, it's just, I feel like I got it when I just watched the first scene. I showed up early and I watched the first scene on the monitor and it's so visually specific. I was like, okay, I see what's going on here. I got the tone just through showing up early and watching. Those actors had done the pilot and then gotten into episode 2 at that point. They felt like they had already created something really special. And I think it was just helpful for me to be like, okay, I see what's happening here. And then like we got to the point where she was supposed to break up with him and they just kept on revising it. I literally remember the drafts coming in and it would be a little different every time. It'd be like Willa and him get in the fight, they break up. Willa and him get in the fight, but they're like she drives up and we're not sure what happens. Then Willa and him don't get in the fight. It was basically like she just stuck. And I was like, okay, there's no breakup anymore. Okay. And then my approach was just like, don't ask any questions.
I was just gonna ask. Okay, so from the business perspective, right, for actors that are listening, there's so many times you get on a show and you're like, oh, I'm here to move storyline A along. I'm playing this person's partner. Here's how they're gonna arc this, and their character is gonna evolve, and then I'm gonna go away. There's so many business sense strategies to this. I love that you went early to kind of see the tone of the show, what was going on. That was going to be my next question. Were you asking for scripts or anything ahead of time to kind of see where your character was going to go? And then the business part of this is your agents are getting this call, right, to pin you or see if you're available for this next episode. We're going episode to episode. At what point does your team say, hey, let's see if Succession wants to now make you a series regular? Because I know you went and did Sneaky Pete. You did a couple of other shows while working on Succession. And yeah, go ahead.
It was an interesting thing. I think they never did that because what happened was I was on another show. I was a series regular on another show. I was on a show called Mr. Mercedes that was like the Stephen King, David E. Kelly show opposite Brendan Gleeson. And so basically I got that and then I got Succession. And so I was like bouncing. It shot in Charleston. I would go from like Charleston to New York or Charleston to London if they were shooting in London, because the first season they shot in London. And I did 2 seasons, or no, that was second season they shot in London, I think. I did 2 seasons of both shows and I was locked into Mr. Mercedes. So like it was more just about like, great that we can do both, and the drama around it or the business around it was just trying, and my agents were incredible at this, at like just trying to make it work so that I could do all the stuff. Then Maisel came up in the middle of that. So at one point I was doing 3 things and that was incredible and like very much, it feels like very appropriate for my 20s because now with a baby and a husband, I'm like, I can't imagine how that would go. But I was like, sure, boop, boop, boop. I was like, it was amazing. And then when the show ended,
Mr. Mercedes, right?
That's when Succession came to me and they were like, can we pick you up as a series regular?
Oh, so I had those reversed. I was thinking Mr. Mercedes came around the same time Succession did. It came right before. So you were a season into that.
Literally, I think it was wild. I think I got the 2. It was like there were a series of, there was just like all in one span of time. And then they lasted me, both of those shows. Mr. Mercedes was 3 seasons, and then Succession was 6 years or something like that because of the pandemic and how long they shoot. And then Maisel was a really long run. So I think I like started them when I was 26 and ended them when I was like 32 or 33.
And what do you think the crystallizing moment was at that point, as far as your audition process? Because those are 3 shows that kind of pop off at the same time. You even being like, everything just is being, what do you think changed? Or do you think the opportunity just met all of that preparation for years and years? Because you weren't also chokeholding anything. Like, do you think there was anything in the secret sauce?
No, I don't know. Honestly, I really don't know. It's so hard because you're like, I have theories about like, what it could be. Like there was like that I was like in love and I was breaking up and I was like, there was like parts of my life that felt very full in different ways and probably contributed to me feeling very like vital or like, but I'm also just, I think it also was just like those auditions and those characters and how they resonated with me and if it like resonated with the people that were watching. I don't know. I think it's also just like luck and hard work and opportunity and all the things. And it's tough being like putting a reason behind why things are happening or why they're not, especially. I think that's one of the things that I had to come to realize in this industry is like, if I'm doing the work and I'm showing up and I'm trying my hardest, that's literally all I can do. And then it feels like there's a lot of variables that have nothing to do with me. And there's going to be times where things are like flowing in a nice way and times where it probably feels a little more scary. And like that I just have to hold on to like just.
The TV and film landscape, it's constantly changing, but traditional actor training has largely remained the same.
It's focused on a theater model whose main goal is to help you stretch the expression of your instrument. That's why you can have years of training
From scene study classes to audition classes.
to even an MFA and still not be able to book a 2-line co-star.
That's why we created the Bridge for Actors.
A collection of tech, craft, and business online courses to teach you the skills that you need to go from a student of acting
To a working actor.
Just doing my best.
And then let's talk about that post Succession, post Mr. Mercedes, like Miss Maisel. Are you having that moment of a lot of doors opening where you're like, okay, great, I have a choice right now. I'm going to sit and wait to see what's next. Or do you have that scary moment? I think a lot of times when people come off of really well-known series, they can get stuck in that character that they portrayed, but you have 3 different characters basically going at the same time, which is wonderful for an actor to be able to see so many things. Was there a scary moment once Succession, all of them I think ended, of what would be next?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's always like living in there somewhere inside of me. Even now, like I'm on this show, but I have that kind of, there's always a little bit of a motor inside of me going, okay. But I also just really was happy with my life outside of acting when those things ended. And so I felt okay. I felt like there was not a lot of neuroses and there wasn't a lot of panic. And I went from that. And I also had, as I was wrapping up Succession, I had this sweet little arc on the show Big Door Prize with Chris O'Dowd. And so that was a nice kind of transitional thing. I really enjoyed working with him and I liked doing that show. That was nice to be like, okay, there's another thing coming out of this that's like a buoy. And then the strike happened and that felt really necessary. And that was like 6 months or something like that. And then right out of that came this audition for Nobody Wants This. So to be honest, I haven't had too much time to sit and get
twiddle thumbs and be like, I wonder if I'm going to work again. When you have a body of work like this too, I think that there should be security. Do you know Adam Shapiro? Great actor. Yes. Adam's great. He talked about like anytime he would go in for something and it's been a minute, he would sit and look at his resume and be like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. Look, I did this. So I'm going to be fine. I'm going to go in there, kill this audition. So he's hilarious. I love him so much. But sometimes there's like when there's valley moments, you have that moment of, is everything going to work out or what's going to be next? So Nobody Wants This. Shikska's initially, when you got this script, I would love to hear this audition because now did you tape or did you go in the room? You went in the room.
I taped and then I went in the room. So I taped, I got the audition, I read it. I felt very clear about who these women were, which just speaks to Erin's writing.
Erin's writing's so good. And then you have the podcast. Did you go and listen to their podcast?
Oh yeah. So that's the thing. So I read it and then I was like, okay, this is clearly semi-autobiographical and like I'm just gonna listen. I know she has a sister in real life, so let's like get in. And then I was like, oh, this is eerie. I heard exactly what Sarah sounded like through reading the script. So that was a good sign. I was like, okay, I heard her while I was reading it. And then I heard her on the podcast and I was like, this just like lines, I like got it. And then I had fun with that audition was really fun. I had a lot of fun doing it and taping it. It's funny because we've talked about it since then and they had said what's crazy. They were like, we had so many people say offer only on the part. And it was like, oh, Justine's gonna read for this. They were like shocked that I came in, that I read for it, which is like to me because I'm very happy to audition. If I had to choose between offer only and auditioning, I think I would audition. And
talk to me about the audition, because I always like to ask people about their process. I know it's so woo, but this is the podcast, right? For that. You get it. Other than reading it, you're listening to the podcast. What are the things that you do after working for this long to break in to do it and throw it down as a self-tape? Because we don't get feedback until you get back into the room as far as what to tweak.
Yeah, I mean, I worked on it with a friend who's really good, who went to Juilliard with me, who's my best friend. Her name is Auden. She gives really good adjustments. So I picked a great reader because I think that's like important for auditions, because isn't the whole thing about responding honestly to what's across from you? So if you're using someone who's not really a reader or not really an actor, or I think it's a lot harder because you're not sometimes you have to self like manufacture what's going on the other side, and that's tough. And so I asked my friend to do it with me. She was great. I also, Sarah Foster is like so specific in the way that she moves and how she dresses and like, what she talks like. And so I like went through her Instagram and I like looked at her outfits and I was like, okay, what does this woman wear? Because I know it's going to help me feel like that person. And I got my nails done, which I like I'm in production now. I'm someone who has like grubby little kindergarten fingers normally. Like I don't do my nails and they're always like unpainted. And so I went and got them done because she talks with her hands a lot. There's a lot of like hand movement. And I was just like, okay, I know that's going to help me because the person who gestures with their hands and has long nails, it's like a thing. It's just a different vibe. So like those two things, and then just like really memorizing it, really like again, really memorizing it, really preparing it. And then we just honestly had fun with it for a couple hours. That's the other thing. I feel like I always want to pick readers who are similar. I pick friends who we like reciprocate with each other and we're willing to put a couple hours down on it. Like, just because then it's like you can play around and you can see what works and what doesn't work and watch it back. And it's like a project that you're doing together. So,
and now are you good at, since you were saying earlier, watching yourself, sometimes the vanity gets in the way, but if you're sitting in self-taping, are you the type of person that I like to pop behind and be like, oh yeah, let me try that different over here, do this there. Are you able to be critical in a positive way that obviously keeps you going to, so you don't.
It's funny because like when I'm in the process of acting, I like really say fuck it in terms of the vanity. Like I really do because I'm like, there's nothing more boring than watching someone who's like sitting there trying to think about looking good in front of a camera. It's
I know.
Like posturing and tight. It's like just restrained, and I fucking get it because it's like tough. Like it's a tough business, and it's tough like thinking about how people are going to see you. And then I think at a certain point, I think in my 20s, I would sit there and be like, do I look good in this take? And there's like a certain point where I was like, fuck this is tired. It's tired. It's recycled. It's like old. I gotta move past it. Like this isn't what it's about. And people aren't perfect. People don't look perfect. That's just not how we are as human beings. That's not what people are interested in when they're watching someone. Yes, like we're attracted to pretty people, obviously, but it's also just so much more about like the essence. It's the same thing as like when you're dating. Like it's not like you're gonna want to date like the hottest guy with the chiseled ab. You want like the essence of the person. And so I just got tired of that whole thing. And to answer your question, yeah, now when I watch tapes, like thank goodness I'm in the process of it. I'm not sitting there watching myself going like I'm still in like work mode. And so no, I'm pretty good at not getting obsessed because I know that's like the death of the thing is if I'm sitting looking at myself visually. It's more just about, did it feel honest all the way through? Did it feel like I went where I wanted to go with it? Can we do it one more time? Did we get it? Can we play with it more? Or is it like we got it and it's just getting a little bit tired now?
And how do you choose? If you sit and you're doing it for a couple hours with your friend, you guys are both outrageous, amazing actresses. So then sitting down and choosing which tape, how do you decide which tape that you're going to then send to Mr. Greenstein Daniels' office?
I feel like I think I know. I think I have a good gut instinct. So I might send two. I might send, okay, here's two different ones that have a little bit of a different vibe. Or I like really just am like, that's the one. Whether or not it's good or not, I have a gut instinct. So I'll usually just go with my gut.
Okay.
I'm a Gemini, so there's a lot of the quick decision. And I'm Aries moon, which is not to talk about getting woo. You're like, and we thought we were getting woo, and then she starts talking about her.
No, I eat this stuff up.
Like Aries is like very impulsive, very reactive, and very like gut. Like this is what, and so I don't know. That's part of me. I don't know if it's about astrology, but it's definitely something that I do have. Is I'm pretty reactive in terms of just that's right, that feels right, that feels not right. I don't know if I sat with it longer, if I changed my mind, but I usually trust my gut.
I liked it. So then do you have a chemistry read with Kristen? I'm assuming that you do, yes?
Yeah. So then they were like, can you come in for a chemistry read? I was really excited. It was great. I felt it was like really exciting. And I got there and she was like, just delightful. She like flipped over the couch. Like she kind of like jumped over the couch and she was like, so I'm a big fan. And that was really cute. And now I'm like, now that I know that she hasn't watched anything but season 1 of Succession, didn't watch any Maisel and didn't watch Mr. Mercedes, I'm like, okay, what were we a fan of, Kristen, you sweet little angel?
Your audition.
Yeah, honestly, it's probably
yeah.
Audition.
Yeah.
But yes.
Absolutely.
So she was like super sweet. She was like, what do you need? Do you need a hug? Do you need a run it? Do you need, and I was like, I would love to just like say the words with you before we go in there. And then it was like very reminiscent of the pilot season testing situation where I went in, there were like 5 people in the room, and then across the hall, there was like another like auditorium of like people watching it on a screen. And it was great. It was fun. I had a good time. I think I just stayed with her. There's something, and that's been my whole thing, even shooting the show, is like whenever I get a little bit like loopy or like insecure, or it's really nice to just be like, just look at Kristen, just look at Adam, just look at Tim, just look at Jackie. Like these people will give you everything that you need. And so I did that in the moment, and it was really fun.
And it works, your guys' chemistry. This is so well cast. It's just, obviously, you saw the numbers, you saw the reaction that everybody had. I get this question all the time. I kept my pregnancy a secret till I was 8.5 months so that I could still
How did
work.
you even do that? Oh, because you were just cropping it.
I was cropping, I was doing films. It was projects that did it like it wouldn't hinder it if I was pregnant or not pregnant. I was making decisions, calculated decisions, but this was almost 10 years ago.
You were hiding it in auditions, you mean?
I was hiding in auditions. I didn't tell my agents till I was 8.5. When I finished the 5th movie, I went into my agent's office and he was like, "How was it? What else is going on?" And I lift up my sweatshirt and he was like, He just, and then of
8
course,
months. You must have been huge. I don't even know how.
she was like hiding, I think, at certain points. There was one day I was working and
Mommy
like,
has to work.
Mommy has to work. And she's like, "I'm gone. You can't see me." But it was such a different time. I've talked to actresses that have then said that they're pregnant and they weren't written off the show, but they were maybe reduced from like series regular, like 7 out of 13. I know today's different, but what was your experience? And I know, and I try to ask guys this too, but you get a great show. I don't know if you guys know when you're actually shooting how successful it's going to be worldwide. It's one of those things like when we work on something, you're like, this is great. I hope everybody loves it as much as we love making it. It's such a lightning in a bottle when everybody loves each other. The chemistry is amazing. And then it's so well received.
Yeah, I know. There's no way you can know that is how that's going to turn out. Yeah, I know. And I still am like, I don't know. Who knows? Hopefully season 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like so fun and we had a great time and it felt like it had all the ingredients. But I just, even then you're like, oh, maybe I think people will enjoy this. But I just don't think that you could ever be like, whoa, like that in that level of like reception was just so delightful and unexpected. But
did you know when you guys started shooting that you were pregnant? And then was that something that you were deciding to tell them later? Just for all the actresses that are listening.
Yeah, of course. I knew that I was pregnant when I auditioned.
Best secret in the room. Best secret in the room.
Yeah, listen, I can't lie and say it wasn't like a thought, like I didn't think it through. There was a part of me where it's like, is it responsible to tell them? Am I like, is it like, am I screwing them over? And then I was like, I talked to a lot of women and they were like, and I talked to my doctor, to be honest. My doctor was like, listen, you have to be comfortable. We're in a fragile state. Like this is the beginning and you don't know what's going to happen with this pregnancy. And there's a staggeringly like high rate of miscarriages that happens. And so just think about who you'd want to talk to about if it doesn't keep, who you'd feel comfortable like having that conversation with. And that was like illuminating where I was like, you know what, this is mine. It's like, I don't have to tell anyone. They're going to be fine. They've done it before. And that was the other thing about talking to some costume designers that I knew and some female actors that I knew is that they were like, they do it all the time. They can figure it out. It's going to be fine. Your early stages, just like honor that this is where you are in your pregnancy. And like you guys, if you get the part and then you'll figure it out as you're going. So I did that and I auditioned and I went through it and I didn't even tell my agents that was going on. And then I told them after I got the part And they were really sweet and respectful about what I wanted to do with it. And they understood because I was like, I'm still in the early stages. I would really love to wait until I'm out of the first trimester. They were great about it. They were really supportive about it. And then I was like, okay, once it got a little bit further along, I was like, I would love to tell Kristen because I feel close to her. She's a mom. And I think it would offer, I just want to know, I think it'd be nice to have someone who's a producer on this show so she can advise me on what to do and how and when and also is like a friend and a confidant. And so I told her and her reaction was just delightful to like the 10th degree. She like was in a sheet max and she went like running around her. I was at her house and she was like, oh my God, like this is the most amazing thing. She was like, you can go to Thailand, you can go to the moon, you can do whatever. And what you're about to endeavor on is like just such a like singular experience. And I'm so excited for you. And I was on this show and these boys, like they just catered to me the whole time and propped me up the whole time. And I'm going to do that for you. And like, it was just remarkable. It was just remarkable. And it gave me, and then I had a conversation with the costume designers next because they had gone in and they had created this whole look for Morgan and we'd done the first fittings and it was like little tiny belly shirts and little tiny shorts. And I was like having little like panic attack, like heat wave. Oh my God, like these poor people are going through all this work to get me into this character and I'm gonna like they're gonna have to adjust. And so I wanted to tell them so that they weren't like blindsided. And they were also just incredible. And we can work with this, we're gonna do it, we're gonna make it like you don't even have to worry about it. And they every week refitted me. They figured out how to hide it as time went on. They figured out how to like make my body look good, make me look like the character, keep their idea of the essence of the character while hiding it. And then when it was time, it felt like it was like safe and I was out of the woods. I told everybody and having Kristen and the costume designers and Aaron, I told Aaron.
And Aaron also pregnant at the same time. This is
it was like incredible. It was incredible. And there was also, we have a woman, Kiki, who's she's our second AD and she was also pregnant. So that was incredible. Like it was like a set of 3. I think there were 3, maybe 4. I think there might've been 4 pregnant women on our set at one time.
I think that's good luck for you guys. Fertile grounds. Like we need to like for season 2, we need to get some more people pregnant. Just keep this.
Yeah. I need to get pregnant. Again.
Outstanding work too. I feel like it might have grounded you in a different way too. Sometimes, what a gift. What a gift. It was
honestly, I think that it was like I was out of my head. It felt like a really creative time. I feel like there's like juice going on, like you're flooded with like hormones and you're flooded with like life and I felt so vital. I like had an incredible time being pregnant and working. And honestly, I got to watch Sarah Snook do the same thing on Succession in the last season. And she was like an incredible expander. I was like, she's doing shit that's just like wild. Like she's just so talented that it was like nice to be like, I don't know. It was nice to see that right before I went into my own version of doing this.
Doing that. Yeah. That leads me into these rapid fire questions because who is the favorite co-star that you've had? I know for different reasons, but
I don't know, man. It's so hard. I can't do that. I can name a few. Do you want
name a few? Name a few. Yes.
Alan Ruck.
Oh, yes.
I'm like in love with him. He's incredible. Kristen, Timothy Simons, Brendan Gleeson, Sarah. I didn't get to work as much with Sarah, but I just became really good friends. Zoe Winters, I became really good. These are women that like, I didn't even get to like work with that much, but I picked up Zoe Winters as like a best friend. Same with Juliana Canfield from Succession. So like, in terms of acting, it's Alan Ruck, Kristen Bell, Timothy Simons, Brendan Gleeson.
Okay. Those are great. Even just working with somebody like Kristen, I want to ask this question before we move on for this. Working with somebody like Kristen, who's been working for a long time, but you've also been working for a long time. She is incredible with script analysis. She can make any script, I think, sound like improv. How much improv are you guys doing, and how are you doing that with her? Are you just anchoring in and just following her lead, or what's your process? Because your guys' chemistry is beautiful as well. It's just great.
Thank you. It's mostly, honestly, what we do is we do a few, it's same as Succession, where you do a few on the word, and then like you can improvise like the going out or the coming in if you wanted to. And then, like maybe after a few takes of doing exactly the words, we can play around a little bit more with
Whatever comes to
add it.
mind.
But I feel like Kristen is similar to me. Like writing is the thing. So I'm getting more confident with improv, and I feel like that's something that I like to add, like a little bit of here, a little bit there. But there's no part of me that wants to be like freestyling a whole thing in the middle. That's not my comfort zone. I'm like very dependent on the writing. So yeah.
Yeah. No, look at some of the scripts that or some of the writers' words that you've gotten to say. My gosh. Okay. Most memorable first day experience.
I remember, I don't know if this is like a first day of a moment, which is just the moment back from the pandemic. We flew to, it was like we had just been working on Succession in masks and like back from the pandemic. And there was like a moment where we just gotten vaccinated and we got to go to Italy to shoot. And I remember driving in to Florence and sitting in my car and being like, this is like the mountaintop. Like this is just, I'm like on a show that I love with people that I love in the most beautiful place. And I just came out of this quite heavy, isolating, sad like moment into this like incredibly like creative, communal, like artistically fulfilling moment in the most beautiful place ever. And I just remember being like, this is just don't let this go by. Just let this sink in. Take this in, because it's just so special. And who gets to do this?
Yeah. Again, what beautiful jobs you've been a part of. Okay. Best on set game or prank?
Oh my God. I did a huge prank with Kristen this season that I almost feel like I should let her tell it, but whatever, I'll just tell it. I pretended that I was drinking my own pee for a month.
And like telling people it was the new like thing to do.
Yeah.
How long before Aaron decided if that was a new health thing or not? Did you get anybody?
No, it was just Kristen that I wanted to get, and she did not get. I was surprised she didn't get gotten. She definitely thought I was drinking my own pee, but she was like, Justine, this is not okay. This is not, we can't do this.
We can't do
Yeah,
it. And
and it went on for a long time. And she like called doctors and like FaceTimed and was like, I like heavily invested in the prank to the point where I had to be like, she might be telling people that her co-star is drinking her own pee and being like, isn't this nuts? But I just felt like it was worth the prank, and it was. The end was like really satisfying. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Okay. Which role? This is the hard question to ask you because, God, I think people would steal your role right now. Whose role do you wish you could have stolen in the past? Let's do a past one. An audition that came through or a role that came through that you're like, wish I would have gotten that.
No, it's so funny. I swear to God, heart of hearts, I just don't have it. I don't have it. I don't have it. I'm like, I wish that I had, because even this season, there was like another thing where like a role you coveted. And I'm like, I feel like the role, it's less about like coveting and more being like, holy fuck, you're good. Like, I didn't even go up for this part, but just watching Amy Lou Wood in White Lotus, I was just like, she's so special and singular. And I like wrote her and was like, this is amazing. But I don't really have, it's weird. I'm like, did I just black them out? I can't think of a part where I was like, I wish I had gotten that part. And that felt like I lost it. I just haven't,
That's healthy, Justine. It's great. You're not holding on to anything in the past. You can go to the next character. You don't have to hold on to it in any way. That's great.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I've just never been close to a part that I was like, I'll die for it. And then I just didn't it's just.
Or you've gotten them, or you've just gotten them, which is great, which is amazing.
Oh my God, now they're just like, okay, we're good.
Okay, last question. So what's the one thing you've done that no one's gotten a lot of eyeballs on that you wish that they would go and watch? There was a couple of things that I watched and I was like, God, I wish more people would have seen this.
Mr. Mercedes, for sure. It's not like my exact, I'm not hugely into horror or anything like that, but Brendan Gleeson is one of the best actors ever, in my opinion. He's just so good. He's so honest. He does not run through walls. He like really, he's not someone who's just, we're going to power through this thing that just doesn't work. Like he really has to understand what he's doing. And he just is so comfortable. And he taught me so many like lessons on that set. And I feel like it was such a different part for me. I was playing this like very beloved Stephen King character, Holly Gibney, who's on the spectrum. It was really different for me. I like had to learn a lot about autism and stemming, and it was just like a stretch. And I fell in love with her. I fell in love with the character. It's just she's a beautiful character. And and he's so great. And I loved working with him so much that I wish it had more visibility. It was on a very strange.
It's Audience Network. Yeah. I was having a hard time finding it, but God, it was good. It was.
You watched?
Yeah, I got to watch a couple of the episodes. It was great.
Oh,
yes. I'm glad that I was hoping you would say that one. And there was like a film, Frances Ha. Was that what it was? Is that?
Oh, yeah. Frances Ha's great. I felt that one. I'm like, I feel like people in this industry really watch Noah Baumbach movies. So
Yes.
that one, I feel like got a lot of visibility. It's on some like lists of the 100 best movies of da, 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 da. Like, so that one was like a big deal for me. And God, I loved working with Noah and Greta and Adam. It was just like a sweet little scene that like meant a lot to me. But yeah, that one, I think it's an indie film, but I guess like in my mind, I'm like, oh, everybody's everyone's
Right. There's certain things when you just get to go back in time that I think are so fun to just review, and that people of today's time aren't necessarily scrambling back to go watch it.
It's a beautiful love story. And I'm like a tiny little baby in that movie. I think I was like my first job out of school.
It was adorable. I wish you all the best success of season 2. I know so many of us are dying to see it. Where can everybody find you? Follow along on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. It's me, Justine Lupe. It's not the most compelling Instagram account you've ever seen. Definitely, it's like minimal, but yeah, that's where I am on social media. I'm not on Twitter or TikTok or anything like that, but yeah.
And then, yeah, nobody wants this. And let's just go for that Emmy. Justine, I'm just putting it out there right now.
Why not just manifest just being in the conversation? This is the thing though. Very happy to be just like on the table in any. I'm like, this is just such a blessing. I'm really excited. So I'm excited for the show. I'm excited for the second season. It was a lot of fun. That's where you have to like hands off, leave it, let the universe take it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Thank you so much for letting me dig into some of the process of it. It's really helpful.
Fun conversation.
Yeah.